Welcome to 2023, everyone, and thank you for tuning back into The Real Report. I am ecstatic to be back on the airwaves, giving you guys the voice you know and love. Funny enough, I just moved again and talking to the realtor. I kid you not, as I'm signing the paperwork, they the woman says, you have a really great sales voice. Funny enough, I told her I used to do sales, blah, blah, blah. She's like, if you had a podcast, I'd listen to it. Of course, I didn't want to dox myself, but told her I'd get right on that, which has inspired me to get back on here. So amidst moving and everything else, currently sipping a nice cup of Sumatra. Not often I buy Starbucks, but post-holiday, Target had it on clearance, shockingly, for $5 a bag. So apparently there's the occasional deal to be had yet. As far as other updates, yeah, hope you guys all had a Merry Christmas, and I should resume a regular upload schedule. Had to build yet another desk and reassemble another chair, and all that stuff. Half the time is cheaper just to build a new one than go out and buy one. So keep you guys posted. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Let me know that you're glad I'm back. Hit the subscribe button if you're new, because we're going to get into the news. Now, a lot of interesting things have obviously gone on in the past month. I only put out one video, but holy smokes, the clown show is accelerating, to say the least. I mean, every single day. And we thought the headlines before were bad. Wow. All right, let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking about Russia, Ukraine, and then hopefully I'm going to expand into a lot more avenues. Instead of just one update, maybe do a couple, especially on the Middle East, China, etc. But today, Russia, Ukraine. Biden regime provided real-time sensitive targeting information to kill Russian generals. In 2021, Joe Biden, the U.S. military, surrendered to the Taliban terrorists and armed them with over $80 billion in U.S. weapons, supplies, and military bases. And if my memory serves me right, we pretty much gave one of the better bases over to the Chinese because we left and they flew right in. Joe Biden stranded, of course, thousands of Americans, has let tens of thousands of unvetted Afghans and flew them into America, and they've caused over $260 million in damages at U.S. military bases alone. And I believe, now I could be wrong, so I'm going to have to fact check myself, I believe one of them that was imported was the one who macheted that one guy in the mini mart in the head, or maybe it was the cop. There was something in the last week where one of them that they brought over. I mean, they've been committing all kinds of crimes, so that's nothing new. Anyway, Biden, Democrats, Mitch McConnell, and the Senate Republicans are pushing the U.S. into war with nuclear Russia. I got to check also the headline for McCarthy. I hope somebody else steps up to the plate after he did not have the speaker votes yesterday. I don't really care to listen to Dan Bongino much, but when I was in the car yesterday listening to him, he made a few good points. Republicans are always, they're losers. They're absolutely losers, beta male, low T, embarrassments. No matter what happens, they just say, oh, we'll get them next time. All right, we'll concede. We'll deal with whoever for the next however many years or this term, and we'll come back better than ever and rally the base and come support us and donate. Why? Why would anyone donate? You're losers. You haven't pushed through anything. You haven't stood in the way of any of these bullshit omnibus bills. Only 9 Republicans refused to clap for Zelensky's little circus clown show court jester begging for money. It was an embarrassment to have the Ukrainian flag waving up above on the Senate floor. And this has nothing to do with Russia, Ukraine. So before you downvote it, you should not be hanging any flag in the U.S. Capitol other than the American flag. Doesn't matter if it's in support of our allies in the UK, the French, the Germans. Doesn't matter. You should not have Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi waving any flag, especially anyone that is not the American flag, on the Senate floor. Full stop, period. Again, that has nothing to do. I don't care if it was Bolsonaro in Brazil. I don't care if it was previously, I'm not even going to say Sunak because he's a WEF puppet, but, Boris Johnson, support of the UK. Macron. Obviously, the French have fallen, but that's nothing new. Holy smokes. Also, speaking of the French, look at the amount of riots going on over there. Anyway, point being, simply put, doesn't matter. Not about Ukraine. They shouldn't have hung any flag, and they shouldn't have made an absolute joke of, well, obviously they've already made a joke, but you know what I mean. So, Biden and the military are providing real-time, highly sensitive data to Ukrainian forces that allowed them to kill dozens of Russian generals. This is something that we've known since last, March. And obviously, this is the exact same headline that I keep making fun of, where they're saying, Iran drones are not being used in Ukraine. No, they're not. They were just purchased by the Russians and then shipped there onto the border. And even though we have video proof of them being used on the daily, we're playing this absolutely outlandish game of, no, we're not doing it. Well, we might be doing it, but we're not. But we can have a meeting to discuss if we're doing it. So this is the same thing. U.S. military providing real-time, highly sensitive data to Ukrainian forces that allowed them to kill dozens of Russian generals. Obviously, we have advisors on the ground. And to add on to this, they're even talking about thousands of Polish regulars fighting in Ukraine right now, which of course, if they're retired and off the books, then they're not technically Polish army, but same deal, mercenaries, etc., joining the Foreign Legion. So rumor has it we've already had troops on the ground. Other countries are already in the fight. We already knew we had advisors. I think the HIMARS have over 1,000 something, 1,100, 1,500 procedures that you're supposed to know to successfully operate those. So, of course, we have guys over there operating them, I'm sure. And you know what? Maybe they're not literally pushing the button, but they're sure as hell standing right next to the guy pushing the button. And, of course, furious, Joe Biden gave presidential tongue lashings to the CIA chief Bill Burns and other top aides in May after the leak. So it's just another funny one. May, January, February, March, April, May. May. We've already known about this for an entire year almost. We do not provide military intelligence with the intent to kill Russian generals, was the official spokesperson's answer. We do not provide the intelligence with the intent to kill Russian generals. So again, we are providing the intelligence, and they're just trying to cover their tracks and say, well, the intention was not to kill Russian generals. So, again, absolutely ridiculous. But that's politics for you. Hundreds of American troops are in Ukraine, says Lavrov. The collective West, led by the U.S., is already at war with Russia. And he argues since 2014 is when the original war started, 9 years ago. Lavrov has alleged that up to hundreds of American servicemen are deployed to Ukraine. Again, whether they're advisors, off the book, etc. Of course, we have people on the ground there. Dozens, maybe even hundreds of American troops are in Ukraine. They were there even before the coup. Obviously, he's referring to the 2014 ouster of Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych and the whole coup there where we swapped out the leadership for a pro-Western regime. Ukraine is receiving more and more and better weapons. The foreign minister said Russian forces are now formulating plans to disrupt the arms shipments, targeting railway lines, bridges, tunnels are being considered. So, of course, we just signed how many more billions in that 1.7 trillion omnibus bill for everything from seeing if Thanos's glove could really snap for that physics fund, all the way to sending, of course, more money to Ukraine. And direct confrontation between Russia and NATO is a matter of weeks away. Speaking of weeks away, hearing rumor mills circulating, this is going to have to be a whole separate video, that the Chinese are going to blockade Taiwan. So not do an amphibious assault per se, but blockade Taiwan. So interesting developments, especially if it's not exactly kinetic, what the West's approach is going to be. What's the response going to be from sleepy Xi Biden as he eats another ice cream and contemplates probably not a whole lot. Direct confrontation again between Russia and NATO is supposedly weeks or days away. Such an announcement is supposedly from officials of the Polish Ministry of Defense, the General Staff of the NATO alliance, and officers of the French Army, and of course the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. And I find this interesting because the Polish Regulars article was circulating around Christmas, and frankly, the meat grinder, yes, is horrible for both sides, but factually Russia has more soldiers, and the Ukrainians have been getting absolutely chewed up. Same as the Russians, except there's not as many Ukrainians, so there's already over 100,000 dead. Now, whether or not that's accurate, we'll run with it. That's what the CIA estimate was weeks ago. And, of course, that's KIA. So, how many are wounded? Ukraine is running out of troops. There's a reason last year that they started recruiting anybody old enough to hold a gun, all the way up to anybody who's probably using a walker. They're just the battle of attrition. They are running out of soldiers. And I'd really like to see the mercenary, the Foreign Legion stats as well. NATO has always been very clear Ukraine shall not lose, thus the only solution for Washington is to deploy alliance troops in Ukraine. The French army is currently divided into 3 groups, an interesting one. Officers who have never seen a war up close, those that want to remain neutral because they think it's better off the French army is used to protect the interests in France, and those who believe that this conflict does not concern the French at all. And of course, why talk of Russia NATO war? Well, political scientists have 2 theories on the matter. Poli-sci majors who don't go outside very often or pick up any non-biased book. NATO's entry in the war will immediately force Moscow to capitulate out of fear. Absolute nonsense, but that just goes to show how stupid these people are. Russia says 63 soldiers killed by Ukrainian strike in Donetsk region. I bring this article up because it was rumored it was actually 700 troops killed, and I bring that up because it was supposedly HIMARS that did it. And we know if it was the HIMARS, then it was our advisors telling them how to operate them. So supposedly it was 700. They officially reported 63, so, we 10x that. We'll go with 630. Putin, suffering from dizziness and headaches, gets tired quickly. I'm sure he still performs better than Sleepy Joe. Again, these articles are just kind of funny when he just met with, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now. The president of Belarus, Lukashenko. So we just saw Putin walking, talking, and over there in the last couple of weeks, so I highly doubt this one. However, we do have video proof that Joe Biden fell up his flight of stairs going to Air Force One last year, so if Putin has a little less energy, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Let's see it on video. Republican senator slams Israel's foreign minister for failing to condemn Russia. Of course, Lindsey Graham is a low IQ lizard WEF puppet as well. And doesn't know as they say, he couldn't pour piss out of a boot if the instructions were written on the heel. Shout out to Mr. Yen for that saying last year. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham on Monday slammed Foreign Minister Eli Cohen for neglecting to call out Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. How dare you not condemn them? I mean, do they really have nothing better to do? Maybe Lindsey Graham should have been looking at the omnibus bill and voting against it instead of worrying about other people not using their mouth words. Zelensky expands crackdown on Ukrainian media, so this is a little dose of reality for those of you who aren't aware, but obviously we did replace them for a pro-Western regime, and Zelensky has signed a new bill into law which strengthens government control over public access to news in Ukraine. So in case you thought the Twitter files were bad, or the CCP was bad, well, how about locking up your political opponents and then censoring the media further? Not very different than Russia, China, or now the United States. Ukraine is in the headlines now, but a whole new world of conflict is about to erupt. Taiwan, North Korea, Iran, and Palestine are all potential flashpoints that could distract Western attention from the invasion in 2023. This is from The Guardian, which usually I don't put much stock in them. However, this was an interesting article talking about, obviously, Ukraine is Europe's biggest conflict since 1945, but there's so many other things going on around the world, especially the whole thing with North Korea and Taiwan. being the biggest attention points. But also, you can't forget about Iran. They're back in the headlines, and Israel wants to very badly do something about their nuclear developments because the West, aka the United States, refuses to draw a line in the sand, so I'm sure Israel will have to do it on their own. They just requested more funding for arms. So we'll see how that goes. So thank you guys for tuning in today. Again, if you found anything interesting, leave a like, comment down below, discuss, and subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Welcome back.